Welcome to Toon Talks. Today we're going to talk about one of the most timely discussions that's going around, not only with young people, but with older people, with mid-career people. It's how do you not only survive, but thrive in this new world of AI and the big changes that are affecting all of us as we go through another revolution that we face as part of humankind. The things that we're seeing today, folks of all ages are expressing concern and fear about the potential impact about AI and what that's going to do to them in their lives and potentially their careers. One of the key elements that is critical to success is you have to decide that you're going to choose to take action. It's going to be easy, and the easy way will be to do nothing and to wait and see what's going on. But the critical element is to actively develop a plan that's going to successfully enable you to adapt for the changes of the world around you. Now, what's the key skill set that you need to be successful? Well, everyone will need to put themselves in place, the key enablers and the certain skill sets that successfully adapt and to navigate the world around them. It's going to be critical that they are able to put in these new skill sets, developing and enabling the skills so they're going to be able to adapt to the world that they face going forward. The key element, and I call it the entrepreneurial advantage. So everybody's going to need the key enablers and a new skill set to adapt successfully, and it's going to look a lot like an entrepreneurial type skill set. And now what does that mean? The skills most closely resemble the Elon Musks of the world and the other key entrepreneurs of the world and how they face and adapt to challenges around them. To navigate the change, the challenge, and uncertainty, you must develop these new qualities to be successful going forward. Now, what are some of the key skills that you're going to have to develop? And I'll list them here and then go into a little more detail later. The first one is relational development. Even in the world of AI, being able to develop relationships that are lasting and strong will be critical to how you navigate the world around you. The other thing, I call it servant leadership and team building. Team building will continue and even be more important as we go forward. One of the critical skills and attitudes really is this thing I call continuous learning and skill building. So you'll have to continue to develop and take on new skills, learning new things, which means that you have to have that kind of attitude that you're going to continue to look at how can I learn? How can I continue to educate myself as the world around you changes quite quickly? And then the other thing is you're going to have to figure out how to choose and develop your path. And you may have many paths that you're going to go under, and you may have multiple decision points as you go through your life, through your career, through your vocation. One of the key elements that you're going to have is an action orientation. That means a focus on speed. That means the ability to continue to adapt as you learn new things. One of the attitudinal skill sets that'll be critical going forward is analytical risk-taking and problem solving. So you'll have to have an analytical type of approach to how you take risks and then be able to learn quickly and adapt. And then most of all, and one of the key elements of successful people is called focused execution. Your ability to execute will be the differentiator as you go throughout your and navigate your life and the changes that you're going to face. Now let's go a little more in depth in this area that I call relationship building, which is an ongoing process, and it's not event-driven. This is something that you have to do day in and day out, is working on developing these relationships and building these relationships. One of the key cornerstones of this is to develop what I call relational capital. When you're investing in people and developing the relational capital, which cements these relationships and allows them to navigate the huge changes that you're going to face out there, that's going to be a critical for long-term success, is to develop this relational capital. One of the ways that you do that quite well is what I call active listening. And in many times in our culture, it's really countercultural. So identifying what I call points of connection requires active listening. So finding where you can connect with people to begin that relationship, then to build out that relational capital. And then investment. Relationships are no different than financial investments. Relationships require time, effort, and intentional investment in building them. No different than building a investment portfolio. You have to invest the time and effort to make sure that you're successful in building these relationships. And then one of the key elements, because relationships are an investment, you need to invest in those deep relationships and need to be careful that you don't overinvest in transactional relationships given your limited time. And finally, there needs to be an intentionality of how you go about relationship building. So be intentional of how you spend your time and effort as part of relationship development. The next one, key areas I call servant leadership and team building. One of the key elements of that is developing what I call self-awareness about how you impact others. That is one of the major elements that every leader needs to be able to do, is to be self-aware and be able to understand how they impact others, the way they say things, the way they act. So body language, and many times, is as important as what you say verbally. You need to build a network of mentors, advisors, and accountability partners to help you in your leadership role, in your team building role. Most opportunities in life, be it in your business, be it in your vocation, be it in your family, be it in your friendships, are coming through those relationships that you have. Most jobs that people get come through relationships. Most opportunities people have come through relationships. You need to learn how to both lead and support. In life, you'll play different roles. You need to know how to play a leadership role, but you also need to know how to support people. You need to know how to give back, to mentor, to share time, your skills and experiences. Credibility is built through consistent action. It's built through action, not words, but deeds. No one succeeds alone, so relationships are your lasting legacy and are key to a successful life and an encounter in the world around you. You have to be a knowledge seeker. You have to stay curious and committed to learn. You need to build skills across multiple areas. You need to develop technological and financial literacy in key areas. You need to take thoughtful risks. There needs to be a process of risk-taking. And you need to be good at testing ideas, piloting things, trying things, and then learning and then adapting. One of the key elements I hear from a lot of young people is, how do I choose and develop my path, career, my vocation? And there's a process, a key process of doing that. The first thing is, not every interest or hobby becomes a viable career. So when people say, do what you love, that's too simplistic. Because, for example, when I was a young person, I loved basketball, but I wasn't good enough to pursue that professionally. So you have to find where your skills and capabilities align with what the world needs. Most people, and this is going to be true going forward, are going to have multiple careers and vocations over their lifetime. And that's one of the reasons that you have to continue to build new skills and capabilities. Lifelong learning helps you identify the right opportunities at each stage. And then in an AI-driven world, things like being able to do project management, to have analytical thinking, and financial literacy are some of the key elements that you're going to need in every business endeavor, every vocational endeavor, in every aspect of your life. So you have to develop competencies in those areas. And then, how do I get and execute this? So having an action orientation, where speed and adaptability become very critical. Successful people are proactive, they seek feedback, and they adapt quickly. They leverage existing knowledge instead of reinventing the wheel. So benchmarking, looking at other people have solved problems is critical to be successful, especially in an environment where speed is of the essence. The ability to adapt is one of the strongest predictors of success. When you look at studies, they've indicated that the number one attribute of successful people is the ability to adapt. So adaptation is critical for success, and the most successful people learn to do that well. Progress requires quick assessment and adjustment, not perfection. So trying new things is critical, but learning from not only your successes, but in many cases your failures become critical. Because waiting for perfection means that you'll move slowly. So get out there, do it, test it, learn, adapt, and then continue on. Smart risk-taking and problem solving is another element that you have to become good at. Most people either are afraid to take risks or they're emotional risk takers. Neither of those have successful probabilities of long-term attainment. So growth requires selective, disciplined risk-taking. And so you need to analyze things carefully, and you need to seek counsel and input as you go about key risk-taking decision points. You need to balance risk with opportunity, and then you need to learn from both your successes and then failure and just quickly. But a risk-taking process increases your probability of success going forward. One of the most important elements, not only in your career, your vocation, but in life, is being fully engaged. It means being a participant, not a spectator. In life, it's too easy, especially today, with all the distractions that we have, is to be a spectator in life. But being a participant in being in the game becomes critical to success. Life provides windows of opportunity. Don't miss them. The assumption that it'll come around again is usually not true. Opportunities sometimes knock only once, so be ready to grab it. Everyone has challenges in life. Expect them. They're coming. Expect in life you're going to have challenges and sometimes chaos, but you need to push through in difficult situations because life will give you challenges, but moving forward, it'll be critical for success, and being able to adapt along the way is one of the key requirements. You need to decide each day to be engaged. Choosing to be in the game is a habit to practice and something that you have to affirm each and every day. Work to be a positive contributor in all your endeavors. That will differentiate you, be it in your career, in your vocation, in your community, and your family. Look to be a positive contributor as you walk through life. Approach life like a great adventure. This is your story to live and to write. Live a life of immersion. It is the key to success and achieving your full potential in any endeavor in life. Now, as you go about taking on these challenges, as you're faced throughout your career and vocation and life in general, there's a healthy living and balance to that. And those areas are in the mental and physical and spiritual health, from family to job to your outside interests to friendships, connections, and relationships. And then sometimes you're a student, a learner, a friend, a teacher, a mentor. So developing a sense of balance and having a support network to keep you on track is critical. Now, the key takeaway here is, like a great Motown song or a perfectly tuned engine, life has a rhythm to it, with different situations and life stages impacting the relative balance of these areas. It is important to develop a sense of self-awareness and have relationships where you can get honest feedback and to hold you accountable if you're out of rhythm or balance. Life is a great journey in navigating successfully along the path, and attaining your goals and dreams requires a lot of effort and help along the way. One of the things I would like to leave you with is an example of entrepreneurship throughout history. Now, entrepreneurial skill sets have driven major transitions from the Industrial Revolution to the digital age, and each period of disruption was led by entrepreneurial leadership. One of the great examples of inventions in the history of the world was Thomas Edison and the electric light and electric power system that he developed. These inventions develop and demonstrate the key enablers that we've just discussed. First of all, Edison built diverse teams across discipline, including a young Nikola Tesla, to help pave the way for some of these world's greatest innovations. Secondly, he created the first R&D center at Menlo Park to build and bring teams together to take on these challenges. Thirdly, he emphasized experimentation, persistence, and learning, some of the key attributes we talked about earlier. And fourthly, he focused on practical, customer-driven innovation. And then 5, he used data-driven analytical risk-taking, not emotional risk-taking, but he took risks, but he took it in a disciplined fashion. 6, he created a full ecosystem that challenged how the world lives and works. So to not only survive, but thrive in the world of AI, you need to keep in place these key enablers in a certain skill set to successfully adopt and navigate the world around you. The key set you will need will closely resemble what we've just seen with entrepreneurs. And Edison is a great example of this. These skills can be classified into several different categories, but like most successful entrepreneurs, you will need to have some level of competence in all areas. Servant leadership and team building, knowledge seeking, risk taking, developing your path, action and speed and adaptability, focus execution. And what I wanted to leave you is with one of the greatest inventions in the history of the world, the light bulb. Edison did over 10,000 experiments to create this filament in this light bulb. At that time, the only type of light you had was either from a candle or from a kerosene lamp. This technology changed the way we live. And one of the most important elements of this light bulb here, was the power system, this power system that was able to not only light these lights, but created an electrical grid. And the amazing thing today, as we think of the world of AI, and potentially, if we thought about it, the way that Edison could have played, given the key dependence upon energy going forward, it was Edison who created these first power systems that allowed us to have electricity through our houses, through our businesses. And in the world of AI, these data centers that are going to power this are going to even be more dependent upon the network of these power sources, of which Edison was the first creator. So a great example of an inventor who changed the world through the technology evolution of the light. And today we're seeing the next changes of the evolution that's taking place with AI. And one of the key enablers will be the data centers and the electrical grids that are going to power these advanced systems. So hopefully you enjoyed this discussion of how you can not only survive, but thrive in the world of AI by developing and enabling yourself with some of the key elements that we discussed. Thank you, and enjoy the challenge as you go forth.